What is up? What is up? Can you guys hear me okay? See the chat here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Impromptu charting session. Just sitting here on the chart, figured I'd send a link. So props to you, to anyone that's jumped on the link here that's happened to be active right now. I'm gonna do a Monday outlook here. So let's jump to the dollar here on the daily. The monthly. So here on the dollar index, we can see on the monthly time frame, we did tap into this monthly order block at the monthly open. There's a monthly fair value gap in here that we tapped into. We seem to have tapped into this monthly bearish order block here, from this low to this high. Okay, we kind of respected the lower half of this in here, and we started to turn the corner here for November. So coming down to the weekly here, and see we had this weekly gap. If we adjust this, that we tapped into once here, again here. We had a lot of liquidity in here in the form of some equal highs up in here. Ran those October into September, October, and then we started to turn here into November. We dropped down to the daily. You can see we had this daily fair value gap that we tapped into, turned here on the 14th. And then we then also tapped into this daily fair value gap, where now we've opened the week here, tapped into small, tiny inefficiency here, I think. We zoom in, there's a really, really small gap right there. Right in there on the dollar index. We tapped up into this daily order block in the form of these two up close candles here. And then we rejected down on the 22nd. And so pretty bearish here on the dollar. See, we have some equal lows here. And if we drop down to like let's see here, 4 hour. Some equal lows in here on the 4 hour, some equal lows here. There's a weekly fair value gap beneath us. And I think this is a monthly gap in here. So a huge monthly gap in here before we shot up. But I think we're pretty bearish here on the dollar. I think down in here, retail is going to look at this as kind of like traditional retail support beneath these lows here on the daily here. So definitely bearish on the dollar this week, which means bullish on indexes, right? So we can kind of see here. Go to the bonds chart. So you can see on the weekly time frame, we had E-mini kind of had created these slightly lower highs here. And the Dow created these lower low. Whereas the NASDAQ, we had this inefficiency on the weekly, this weekly bullish fair value gap that we tapped into. So kind of a really cool, different way to look at smart money divergence here, where the Dow was given a fake out. We had higher prices on ES slightly, and then this PD array. So combining a little bit of a smart money tool with the PD array in here. The NASDAQ on looks layout. We go to NQ. So monthly time frame, we're pretty much bullish, right? Since we were talking about the dollar being bearish. Monthly, I think we could come up into these highs in here. Buy side liquidity. We tapped into on the monthly by this huge monthly fair value gap here. And we actually swept this low. So it was a very significant level, higher time frame that we turned in October. And that's when we started seeing all of this bullish pricing, right? So we drop down to the weekly. We can see there was also some weekly lows in here, weekly order block in here. And so if we measure in here, this swing low to this high here, right? So kind of this manipulation up to down before we started to turn, right? So let me highlight this. So like this low to this high here, right? We measure this with a fib from the low up, right? And then turn on your standard deviations. We try to line it up with a standard deviation up here. We see 4 gives us just above these highs in here. So if we come to the daily, you can see these highs gives us -4 in here, right? Which is this swing low to high before we turned up there, right? The manipulation leg before the shift in structure. So we could potentially see this as a higher time frame market maker model, like original consolidation in here, right? We broke and then retested, drove up higher, reaccumulated, and then we've driven higher here. So we could look to maybe turn a corner once we get above these highs, potentially. But right now, short term, we are bullish. So daily time frame, we're kind of just back and forth here because of the holidays. We have this 4-hour fair value gap. We kind of traded below it. I think there's something on the 1 hour in here. You can kind of see we tapped and we've stayed above so far. So we make this 1 hour bullish. 15-minute. So I do see us coming for these highs up here. You can see the high that we put in today is pretty equal with this high and this high. So I would say lots of buy side in here, right? Buy side liquidity resting above here. Kind of just stuck in this range. We have some sell side beneath here that we could sweep. So 15-minute. Could sweep this overnight, maybe into the lows here before we continue bullish higher time frame. ES, I really liked today. To the monthly. Haven't really reached these highs like we have on the NAS. We're kind of tapped above this high. ES still hasn't gone there yet, so I think it's still got to play some catch up. Weekly, I think I have it on here. Yeah, we have weekly fair value gap. Daily. And what is so nothing significant in here yet. We're kind of just in this range again, like we are saying on NASDAQ. So today's price action, we can see this morning, we have this 4-hour fair value gap that we kind of been wicking through. I tapped into this 4-hour order block here, higher time frame, but then closed back in the range of this 4-hour. Lots of wicks up here. Drop to the 1 hour. You can kind of see that inside that 1 hour range, consecutive down close candles in here. Dug a little bit into that order block before we drove higher this morning during London. We had this 1 hour volume imbalance in here. So tap back into that. We can kind of see a 1 hour fair value gap bullish in here. We kind of drove a little lower into that volume imbalance and then repriced higher. So I liked the 15 this morning. See, this is that volume imbalance here on the 1 hour. Let's make this like a yellow. Volume imbalance on the 1 hour. But if we look here on the 15-minute time frame, we can drag this over just so we can keep price where we're at here. So midnight opening price right inside of this 4 hour tap back into before we skyrocketed up. And then we can see this is our higher time frame PD array. And then, but we had this medium time PD right here in this 15-minute bullish fair value gap. Right. So price was in here right around that 10 to 11 a.m. You can see the shaded box here. This is that silver bullet time window. So that's when I like to go use higher time frame. And we have multiple higher time frame PD arrays in here. And then jump down to the 5-minute and see what we have here. So we had this, I think, some news at 9:30, the open. But we can see here, we kind of tapped that 4 hour. And at this point, I believe price was probably about here. What time was this at? 10. Might even been here, 7. Okay, yeah, 10:15. I was looking at the charts here, and I noticed we left these equal highs. So that to me was liquidity left. So I like to take my Fibonacci here, and you can do this 2 ways. Okay, so you can run it from the wick to wick or the body to body. So if we run the body low to the body high, we turn on our ICT optimal trade entry, then anywhere from anything under 50%. So like anything under 50, you can use 62, 70, or 79. 79 being kind of your last level. But we also had this 15-minute fair value gap it was tapping into. So we could wick in this area or tap 79 before moving back up. So lower time frame, you can see we have this 5-minute fair value gap here showing bullish momentum. Another small 5-minute gap in here, just barely right in there. So notice this low just to the left here. Where's the marker? We have this low, and then we have high, and then we created these lower lows, right? So these consecutive up close candles, we can use this as a breaker, right? The manipulation high to low is a fake out. So this last up close candle, it's actually these consecutive ones here. So if we turn on the midline, just so we can keep 50% of that breaker, run it over, and you can see 50%. Let me make this make a different color. Okay, so start breaker. You can see 50%. I don't like that either. Green. About like a dark fluorescent green. Dark green? Light green? A bit like. Sorry, guys. So midline here, 50% of this breaker block lines up with the 79 level. So you could be a buyer in here waiting for it to retrace. Oops, wrong one. A buyer. No. The long. In here waiting for a retracement or take it off the 79 level. Put your stops at 5 points, which puts you below this swing low, right? Protected, and then target your 5 just up there. Possibly this for this buy side, but nice little 1-to-1. If we drop to the 1 minute, which is what I did this morning, I was waiting to see what we were going to do here. So I was a little bit more picky and patient this morning. So like we dropped in to the 79 level here, and I wanted to be a little bit more patient. We had this 15 it tapped into 79 level. We're inside of this breaker block, right? So you can be a buyer there for sure, and you're still safe, right? So pulling this fib from low to high gives you that 79 in here, right? Using the candle bodies here. So using this low candle body to this high candle body gives us that 79, which is also nice. 50%, about 50% of that 15-minute fair value gap, and we're inside of that breaker block still. So at this point, we've seen price just aggressively run away, and we left this fair value gap right in there. Boom. 1 minute bullish fair value gap. At this point, this is where I started entering my positions with a 5-point stop. And then 5-point take profit. So you have multiple confirmations here, right? We're tapping off of the 4-hour, supporting structure, dropping, we fly higher, but we fail to take out this high, and we leave these relative equal highs, right? So this is suspect. This should be suspicious to you. Too clean. This is way too clean of a high to leave intact, right? So then we pull our fib from the low to the high, and we can get 79 level OTE retracement. We're inside of this breaker on the 5-minute, low, high, lower, low. We start to trade above it. And then we have market structure shift in here. We start breaking these highs aggressively with a lot of displacement here. So aggressively moving away and leaving this gap in here, right? So I like this whole setup. Multiple confirmations for me to go bullish. Also because the dollar, my bias on the dollar is bearish, which means we should see indices showing higher prices, right? So just almost hit the 5 points there, depending on your entry. It did come back down inside of that 15. It swept this low here, taking a little bit more liquidity, and then ultimately, once we had London close here, I believe it went ahead and took out the liquidity back up towards this weekly opening, which is this level here, 45.6850 is our weekly open. But you're safe here, 15-minute, right? So you could have been a buyer in here, which would have been nice, off the 79 and this 15-minute with the 5-point stop, or just put your stop just below this low and target this high or these highs, and get a nice 1 to 3, or take this little silver bullet entry here, shooting for 1 to 1, or you could have tried to get this high here to take out the buy side. So into London close, we had liquidity swept. We had this 15-minute up here to the left, And so you can see after lunch for the PM session, we have a retracement consolidation. I have it red because that's my no trade zone. We tap that 15-minute, and then we just start to reject here. Right, so 15-minute in here. Start to come down, drop to the 5-minute. Small volume imbalance here, overshoot a little bit, continue to drop lower. Okay, so here we left that 5-minute. Right in there. 5-minute. Now, notice what it's drawing back to, midnight opening price. We have this 4-hour below us. It tapped again. See this 1 minute. So we have a 1 minute in here, 5-minute, 50% there. Tap this order block here. Still inside this 1 minute. Wicked above, but candle body closed below. Respect that order block. Look at that, how clean. That's crazy. Cleanly respected the order block there. Where was this 5-minute? I believe there was a 5-minute fair value gap this afternoon. Am I mistaken? Was it on the NAS? Oh, it was on the NAS. So PM session had a nice NASDAQ setup on the 5-minute. This is what I was looking for. Right. So if you notice here, we bounced, we created a lot of liquidity like underneath these lows. If you think of this as like a trend line. So we started to break below. So we still have to take these lows back towards weekly opening for NAS, a relative equally lows on here. So we had this 15-minute, but it just got pushed through. So we had this nice 5-minute right in here. Tapped in. This would be a beautiful short. 12-point stop on the NAS. And then we can target like these lows here or 1 to 2. I like these because they're pretty equal right there. Nice little liquidity. And then right to it. So yeah, that was today's price action for ES NAS. Kind of my outlook for the week on the dollar is bearish, which means we should continue higher pricing for ES. And the indices here. So you can see we're inside of the central bank dealing range now, heading into Asia, just consolidating. So I would not be surprised if we take some more liquidity before we head out for these for this buy side liquidity above. So could see price potentially come down to 1 standard deviation or 2 standard deviations into this order block here, which lines up. So if you're trading in London on the ES or anything like that, could see price come down to this area, 45.53, and then look to come back up towards the weekly open and continue bullish prices for the week. So, but with that being said, I will see you guys in the morning. 24 hours left for anyone that knows anybody that wants to get into the Discord or the masterclass or the boot camp. Boot camp starts next Monday. So get in there for December. The only Monday we won't be doing is going to be Christmas Day, of course, here in the U.S. holiday. So, but going to be jam-packed for December. I'm excited for a new month of trading, and 2024 is just around the corner. So I'm super excited what 2024 is gonna bring for everyone's trading journey. So thank you guys for those that jumped on the impromptu charting session. You guys are amazing. Appreciate you guys. And yeah, I will post this in the weekly outlooks on the channel as well. So I will see everybody in the morning. Yeah, we'll hit the ground running tomorrow morning. Peace out, everybody. My pleasure.